32. Self-righteous indignation is not proved right by certification, and those who give licenses of wisdom to those who lack understanding take damnation into themselves. 33. Don't seek your divine gifts by those who claim to be living representatives of the seat of God. 34. Don't seek favor with those who merely ask for the completion of rituals. 35. Actions must be backed with thoughts and emotions. 36. Guilt and shame are or can be under our control. 37. People are worthy to take part in all they have the rightful means to do. 38. People can delegate, but they have no authority of ultimate legislation or pardon. 39. Excuses are almost always a barrier to self-redemption. 40. Bribes breed ill feelings. 41. Beware of encouraging extras or not distinguishing degrees of deeds. 42. Social consciousness is more important to focus on than repentance. 43. Charity is better than sacrifices. 44. Development happens by effort and exposure instead of proclamation. 45. Help yourselves by helping others. 46. Needs of ourselves and those we have responsibility for come before explicitly religious spending. 47. Money for religious officials and even spiritual buildings should never be required. I mean, as far as the main alms or anything like that. 48. Spiritual leaders need to call for making the spiritual actions the prior driving force of society. 49. Do not disregard the unseen worlds out of over-reliance on representative authority. 50. Those who are slaves of so-called organized religion suffer for what their leaders should not want, if that is how it happens. "51. Those who invite towards action should be of their own souls who would do it themselves. 52. Those who sell spiritual favors sell their own souls. 53. Regardless of the cause, those who will call that scriptures and directly inspired teachings are not shared in the assemblies are the enemies of God and even the current religious leaders. 54. Obliged sermons should center on revelation, then inspiration, then given over to further wisdom and extras. 55. Emphasis and multiplication should properly represent with perceived status. 56. The real values of spiritual organizations is not in what is derivative. 57. Strive for both temporal and spiritual enlightenment. 58. Examples are for the outer life and teaching is for the inner illumination. 59. Those who lack clinging to material life are truly spiritually rich. 60. Detachment or even deeds from want of result are the keys to the spiritual empire. 61. Leaders have the authority to take back the words which they made themselves distinctive. 62. Messages are more important to religion than messengers and buildings. Stop your fanaticism. 63. Opportunities are for the merit by legacy decrease with the generations. 64. Through a paradigm shift, the worst can become of the best. 65. The good news shall be known through the methods rather than the forms alone. 66. The methods have given magic a bad name in merely being a drama to gather the wealth of humanity. 67. What is called great may not be in the sense you were led to believe. 68. The greatest graces are in having more than enough guidance, an opportunity to be guided and do one's own hero deeds. 69. Lower members of a hierarchy should operate within the authority of and respect to the rules of such organizations. 70. Share beyond the personal and even the collective, towards the universal messages. 71. Enmity to truth needs hatred, and the enemies of truth are cursed. 72. Desiring should be mastered, enjoyment should not be in a context that calls for excusing. 73. Conspiracy should be for righteousness rather than wealth and power. 74. Just because someone isn't on your side, it doesn't mean they oppose truth, love, life, or even God. 75. The rights of creation require attempts or intentions to set things right with creation too, but blasphemy is something with no connection to whether or not creatures forgive it. 76. The smallest matters can't ultimately be forgiven by any creation. 77. The cyclic succession tends to degrade rather than make something truly new possible. 78. Spiritual functions and powers available for all who would acquire them. 79. The conservative additions and inflections will never be equal to the fundamentals. 80. To deny people their own spiritual authority is the right of no one. 81. The focus on gathering wealth for so-called religious organizations instead of for the needy puts the leaders to much suspicion. 82. To pity and remit makes more sense than ransom. 83. People save themselves instead of rituals for the dead. 84. Neither money nor love truly justify anything. 85. Financial sacrifices do not abrogate the function of repentance. 86. Wealthy leaders should exceed in charity rather than put the burden on financing spiritual centers on the poor. Now, giving to centers that one takes part in, that's perfectly reasonable. 87. Intermediary authorities have no real connections to offer the mystics. 88. Blessing is not something to do once or just get it over with. 89. If wealth and power are not goals, the past actions would not be dismissed to call on new spending. 90. Faith should never be forced. 91. Claims of the spirit of the law that ignore it and deductive authorities without a direct support for their claims should be dismissed. 92. Many charismatics provoke false feeling. 93. Jesus was not crucified, so any claim regarding the cross, other than being 93. Jesus was not crucified, so any feeling regarding the cross, other than a figure of speech, about taking up your own cross and following him has no bearing on reality. 94. Maintain the anointed consciousness through all difficulty. 95. Be assured of your success because you are continuing. And I'll show more of the building here. Trinity Church, established 1909 through 1914, it says. So it would really make sense that this thing took 5 years to build. Look at that. And a memorial building, and show the other side of this here. But the four types of Christianity we have, we have the Charismatics, the Baptist, the Presbyterian, and the other conservative is the apostolic claim. So zero in on each window here. And that's, there's also the fundamentalist. And the fundamentalist would be someone who, rather than a conservative tradition, but they're very rare, particularly in this part of the country. But that is my 95 thesis. Faith should never be forced. Number 90. 91, claims of the spirit of the law that ignore it and deductive authorities without direct support for their claims should be dismissed. 92, many charismatics promote false feelings. 93, Jesus was not crucified, so any claim regarding the cross, other than the figure of speech about taking up your cross and following him, has no bearing on reality. 94, maintain the anointed consciousness through all difficulty. 95, be assured of your success because you are continuing. So, a lot of what I had to say would have definitely agreed with that, because the Catholic Church was going too far, even in Christian terms. Protestantism of Reformation Day, Protesting Protestantism Day, October 31st, because I don't believe Halloween exists. And here's the other sign. So I'm going to close there. Peace be with you.